Hey everyone, Brian Zane here with my review of AEW Dynamite for June the 8th, 2022. But first, I want to let everyone know, yes, I too am aware of the fact that I have not put out a Hell in a Cell review yet. I got a lot of messages in the last several days. Most of them have been generally respectful, asking where the review is or when it will drop. As I mentioned late last week, I was going to be gone all this past weekend, out of town on PAL Pro Wrestling business in Oregon. Didn't get a chance to watch the pay-per-view, and as the man whose shirt I am wearing under this sweatsuit likes to say, I'm busy, so when I got back into town, I've had some catching up to do. But needless to say, I will watch Hell in a Cell. I will give you my review of the pay-per-view, or the premium live event, as it were. That's going to drop on Friday in place of This Week in Regret. So I appreciate everyone's patience and understanding while I try and juggle the YouTube job with the indie wrestling job. It's quite a delicate balance, and so that review will be dropping in the next couple of days. Once again, thank you for your patience. And let's move on to the AEW news. Something that I missed in last week's This Week in Regret because it happened that night. CM Punk, the AEW World Champion, is out with an injury after a little bit of confusion as to whether or not he'd relinquish it or vacate it. He is holding onto the belt, and an interim AEW champion will be crowned at Forbidden Door. That news, though, is a real kick in the gut, though. You hate to see it. Anytime a wrestler gets hurt, especially somebody prominent mid-storyline, it's always bad timing, but especially for Punk when he just won the belt, and you'd love to see where they would have gone with that reign. And I guess we'll have to wait and see a while just where they want to go with it. This AEW interim title thing, I get that AEW likes doing interim belts. I think we as wrestling fans, especially with the way WWE has told stories for so long, it's just we kind of expect, oh, wrestler champion is hurt, they drop the belt, and we have a new champion crowned, and that's that. So I kind of like the idea of interim belts. It's very much what MMA, UFC does, and so keeping that kind of, I guess, there's that sports-centric booking that AEW promised all those years ago. Here's how we're going to get there, interim champions. But needless to say, I think it's disappointing that Punk's reign has kind of got off on the wrong foot, so to speak, pardon the pun. This interim championship that'll be crowned at the end of the month, we are getting a better idea of who could become the interim champion after tonight, so we're going to dive in and see how it goes. The show opens up with the Casino Battle Royal, where the winner will face Jon Moxley in the main event, and the winner of that match will go on to Forbidden Door to challenge for the interim AEW World title. You got the Clubs group, that's Eddie Kingston, Lance Archer, Darby Allin, Daniel Garcia, and Tony Nese. They wrestle for a bit. The Diamonds group is Ricky Starks, Jake Hager, Ray Phoenix, Swerve Strickland, and Keith Lee. You have two members of the Jericho Appreciation Society now beating up on Kingston as the match goes on. Nese is the first man eliminated as the timer goes to 0. Or does it? More time seems to pass by, even though the timer is clearly on the screen. Then the timer expires, and we have the Hearts group. That's John Silver, Konosuke Takeshita, Max Caster, and then the Gunn brothers, Austin and Colton. The Spades group. It's Powerhouse Hobbs, Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish, Dante Martin. Wheeler Yuta, the ROH Pure Champion, is back from Japan. This is his return to TV here. And the Joker is Andrade El Idolo, so he's the last man in this thing. You've got Lee. Keith Lee does a good job eliminating a lot of people here, but Swerve Strickland, this is probably one of the biggest twists of the match. Swerve eliminates his own tag team partner, and we see Keith kind of seething over that. So, is this tag team breaking up already? Is the feud going to be between Keith Lee and Swerve for the time being? Should be interesting. Team Taz take out Takeshita, so that 5 times fast. Your final 4 is O'Reilly, Takeshita, Wheeler Yuta, and Andrade. Andrade hits Phoenix with a mid-air low blow, which I don't think I've ever seen done before, and Ray Phoenix is out. Your final 2 are O'Reilly and Yuta, and after a struggle in the ropes, you've got O'Reilly taking out Wheeler to win and advance to the main event. I thought it was a pretty good battle royal. It's kind of hard to mess those up, and I'm getting more used to the Casino Battle Royal format. It's something I've kind of talked about over the last few years with that format. Kyle's not the person I would have picked to win this one out of that final 4. It seemed like Andrade's to win, especially after he came back from being gone from TV. But now I think it makes the main event feel like a foregone conclusion. But be that as it may, I think it was still a fun opener. After the match, we hear from Jon Moxley in the back, where he addresses Kyle O'Reilly winning the Battle Royal, talks about what a strange year it's been, and at the end of the day, Forbidden Door and the AEW Championship belongs to him. Then they announce a new mid-card championship coming their way to AEW, the All-Atlantic Championship. It's a right purdy belt. It looks very similar in style to the current Women's Championship belt, although now it's got flags in the middle of it. The way they're promoting it, it feels very much like their equivalent of maybe the European European Championship back in the day with the WWF, where it was kind of their way of entry into the UK market. Because Shivani mentioned multiple times on commentary, hey, Dynamite and Rampage are the #1 wrestling shows in the UK. So this seems like maybe this is kind of their way to kind of branch out to that audience, it would seem. Now, on the one hand, I do like the idea of having multiple championships for multiple wrestlers to go through. I mean, we all know how big this roster is in AEW, and the more belts you have, the more things you have for those wrestlers to do. More stakes, I think, are always better for wrestling matches. I hate to see wrestlers just fight each other on and off and over again with no clear goal in mind or no clear direction. So to have another belt in the mix, I think, will kind of help alleviate some of that and keep storylines fresh and going toward other belts. But at the same time, it's like we already have the TNT Championship, and I feel that, you know, the booking and the treatment of that belt has been more or less hit or miss for the last year, though I am still hopeful. I think everyone kind of wanted Trios Championships to be the next belt unveiled, though they seem to have indicated that they're going to wait until Kenny Omega returns to action for them to pull the trigger on that, it would seem. So yeah, I'm going to say, you know, it's a very pretty belt. I'm optimistic of what they're going to do with it after this tournament. They're going to have a tournament at Forbidden Door. The finals are going to be a 4-way match to crown the new champion. So I think all those matches in the tournament, even though the New Japan one, we haven't seen what that's going to be, but the other 3 that have been announced, all potential great matches. And so the way the rest of the tournament shakes down could be very interesting as well. The first of these tournament matches for the All-Atlantic Championship is Pac versus Buddy Murphy. Yes, my body is ready. This has been a match that was very much hyped in the last couple of days on social media when this match was announced, and these guys did not disappoint. It was just a terrific match, great back and forth, great offense on display from both guys here. There's even a fight forever chant at one point during this matchup. Pac with a great looking poison rana near the end, the kick, the black arrow to win the match and go on to Forbidden Door, where he'll be 1/4 of that tournament final match to crown the new All-Atlantic Champion. Like I said, these other tournament matches all have the potential to be bangers, as the kids say. So I'm looking forward to how the rest of this tournament pans out. But yeah, this match definitely as good as advertised. Eddie Kingston's backstage, and he's pissed. He's mad at Jake Hager for costing him the Battle Royal and his shot at the AEW Interim World Championship. Gives the poor stage handoff camera some sass for giving him a 30Q, and he says he wants a piece of Hager this Friday on Rampage. We then go to the ring where Trent Beretta's in there looking pretty sad. He says today is National Best Friends Day, and his friends aren't here. He also has some words to mince with FTR and talks about, hey, you know what, you know, we didn't beat you for the ROH tag titles, but you didn't beat us either. So, you know, he wanted to call FTR out. Let's make things right. Dax and Cash make their way to the ring, and they agree, yeah, you know, we probably should have a rematch because that match didn't end the way we wanted it to. It ended in that no contest after Jeff Cobb and Great O'Khan interfered, as they referred to him, Will Ospreay's bitch boys, I believe is what they said. But then we hear the United Empire music, and Will Ospreay himself, the former IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, makes his way to the stage to quite a large ovation. And then as he's there, suddenly we see Aussie Open and Aaron Hanare, also of United Empire, running into the ring, jumping Beretta and FTR. The baddies beat down Trent and FTR, and there's a holy shit chant too as they make their way to the ring. So basically, based on the last couple of weeks of build between that ROH tag title match and this segment here, it does seem we are building toward like maybe FTR and Best Friends versus the United Empire at the pay-per-view, which I think should be a good match. Crazy to see Ospreay on AEW. I know that a lot of hardcore fans are going to really salivate over this segment. You know, less hardcore fans or ones who are less versed in New Japan aren't going to know who these people are. I mean, I know who Ospreay are. I know who Aussie Open are. I'm not familiar with Aaron Hanare. But I think that this is, you know, like I said, there's people who are going to get it, people who don't. AEW obviously tries to cater more to the hardcore fans, and that's fine. I'm just saying, you know, there's going to be some people who are scratching their heads on this one. They did, you know, the announce team did the best they could to try and fill in the gap in a short amount of time with like who Will Ospreay is, what he's known for, what he's done, and I will applaud them for that. So again, this is one of those segments where if you know who these guys are, you're going to like it, and if you don't, then you might not like it. Backstage, William Regal has a message message for the Undisputed Elite. He warns Kyle O'Reilly, "Oh, you sweet summer child, I hate to see you get your head kicked in and cracked open by Jon Moxley in the main event." He goes off, he walks away, and Kyle O'Reilly kind of fires back, says he's here to fight the best, and he's going to win tonight in the main event. We then go to our next match as Hangman Page, in his first piece of action since losing to CM Punk at Double or Nothing. He's taking on David Finlay in a match here. Adam Cole is on commentary for this one, and this is another great match. Good back and forth in this one. Page taking a sip of a fan's beer on the outside after he dives into Finlay, who then crashes hard into the barricade. The back of his head hitting that thing, looking pretty snug. Finlay working over Page's knee throughout this match as well, which was a weak spot in the title match at Double or Nothing as well. Some close call falsies, but in the end, Page hits the buckshot lariat to win the match. So yes, very good match between these two. Not a ton of heat going into it, but what they did in the ring, I think, told a great story and a great showing for Finlay too. He's not been on AEW that much, but I think that he's started to develop a nice reputation that I think AEW fans will be a bit more accepting of him. After the match, Hangman gets on the microphone and says, "Hey, I wasn't in the Battle Royal tonight, so I guess I won't be getting an AEW title shot for a while, but there's more than one world championship in wrestling." He says he wants the IWGP World Heavyweight title, and he wants Okada at Forbidden Door. But then Adam Cole Bebe gets up from the announce table, and he seems proper miffed about that. He says, "You know what, you lost the belt. I just won the Owen Hart tournament. I'm on the fast track. I should get a shot at the IWGP Championship. It may not even be against Okada. It might be against Jay White after what happens at Dominion." So that's how that segment wraps up. Adam Cole says boom. So it looks like we may be getting a match between Cole and Page again, this time to see who would face, the IWGP champion at Forbidden Door. We've seen a couple of good matches between Cole and Page so far in AEW. I think another one would be good for both of them. They show a clip from earlier in the day where Thunder Rosa issues an open challenge for the Women's Championship, and Marina Shafir answers that challenge. We'll be seeing those two in action later tonight. Then we get a promo from Wardlow in the ring, and he welcomes everyone to Wardlow's world. Party time, excellent. Wardlow says he opted out of the Battle Royal at the top of the show because he wants to fight and beat CM Punk specifically for the AEW World Championship and doesn't want to deal with anyone else in the meantime. No interim title for old War Dog. So he says he wants to focus his attention on the TNT Championship. Scorpio Sky comes out, looks like he wants to scrap, but then Dan Lambert and Ethan Page cut him off, and they remind him he's got a bad leg, and then Wardlow says, "I want you to wait until you're 110% before I take you on." Then suddenly we go to a video backstage of Mark Sterling Esquire with some of the security detail behind him, and he makes Wardlow an offer. Says, "You can either face me in a court of law in this class action lawsuit, or you can face 20 security guards in a handicap match, a class action match next week on Rampage." And they announce later on Wardlow takes that option. And all I can say is that one's going to be hilarious. Now, as far as the promo itself, Wardlow hasn't had too much experience doing promos in front of an audience lately, but I think he carried himself pretty well in this one. As far as keeping him in the TNT title picture for the time being, that seems like a great place for him to go. His time in the main event scene and the world title picture, that will come in due time. He's got a lot left to give in wrestling, especially now that he's just celebrated this whole emancipation from MJF thing. And there you go. I think it's a fine place for Wardlow. Also, now that I've mentioned him for the first time today, sidebar, last week a lot of people criticized my comment on MJF's promo saying, "Where's the money? Where is this going?" And people are going, "Well, duh, Brian, obviously the money is in following what MJF's going to do next." Well, what's that going to be? How do you predict that? Because, they no-sold that promo in the aftermath and the immediately following the promo. And I don't think they mentioned his name but more than once or twice, if at all, this week. And, who really knows what's going on with MJF and his status and what it's going to look like when he comes back, if he comes back, and when that's going to be. That's, I think, a bridge too far to ask fans to tune in every single week in the vain hope that MJF might show up and do something, because you don't really know. And so, again, I think it's a big ask It's putting a lot of faith in the audience to suddenly be hooked by that, because if that's what fans are waiting for, and if that's the money, is to just keep watching, hoping MJF does something, again, that's a lot to ask for. We get a promo backstage in the Young Bucks dressing room. They say that they're back in business, they're on the upswing, they want a shot at the AEW tag titles. The Hardy Boys just barge in uninvited to their dressing room and say, hey, you have won some matches lately, but we still beat you at Double or Nothing, so if anyone deserves a shot, it's us. In barge in the tag team champions, the Jurassic Express and Christian Cage. Cage doing all the talking for Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, saying, hey everyone, how about next week we have a 3-team ladder match for the AEW tag titles, which Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus do not seem too pleased about. Again, continuing whatever tension is between those three there. And yeah, that's the match we get next week. All I can say is poor Jeff Hardy. After everything he's been through since coming back to AEW, he's going to jump off another ladder? Come on, man, give the poor man a break. On we go to the AEW Women's Championship match from that open challenge earlier, as Thunder Rosa defends against the Problem, Marina Shafir. This matchup, it wasn't doing much for me here. I saw some people kind of comment on, oh, well, Shafir has MMA experience, Thunder Rosa has MMA experience, so like these two had a match that kind of played into that. I don't know, it just felt kind of clunky to me. It felt like Shafir was methodical, but almost too methodical to a fault, if that makes any sense. There were some times where it looked like she was in mid-move and appeared to be second-guessing herself, or the body language just wasn't there. It was just, that match, it wasn't my cup of tea. In the end, Rosa countering a slam attempt into a roll-up to retain the belt. After the bell, Shafir jumping Thunder, putting her into submission, but then Toni Storm comes in and makes the save. The two of them take Shafir out. Then we get a moment where Storm picks up the Women's Championship, looks at it, the fans immediately know what that's kind of indicating, but she gives it to Thunder, and that's the end of that segment there. Like I said, not a lot of heat on them bones for this matchup. It was announced last minute, open challenge sort of thing. The two matches I've seen so far of Shafir on Dynamite, this one and one before, neither time was I particularly impressed. But you know what? She's there for a reason, apparently, and so we'll just see how she progresses. Tony Schiavone backstage with Jade Cargill, Stokely Hathaway, and the Baddies. They all kind of dismiss the impending challenge of Athena as she's kind of nipping at Jade's heels toward the TBS Championship. Stokely is talking about the match with Red Velvet, and in his words, Kristen Highlander on Rampage, and says Red Velvet will make Statlander beg like Keith Sweat, and then Schiavone is once again told to cut the shit. Then it's time for the main event, the Interim AEW World Championship Eliminator match. That's a whole lot of words, as JON MOXLEY takes on the winner of the earlier Battle Royal, Kyle O'Reilly. And the winner of this match will face the winner of Goto and Tanahashi at Dominion, and those two winners will face off at Forbidden Door for the Interim World Championship. And Willie Reeves joining commentary for this match, by the way. Love the big old spot before the break where Kyle drops the knee onto Moxley while he's caught up in the ropes. This is a very physical, very intense matchup, and this goes all the way through the break. I don't watch too many of the picture-in-picture things, when I'm reviewing these shows, but I couldn't look away for this match. It was that good, I think. We get a big double down after the two just kick the hell out of each other after the break, which is great. At one point, Kyle bites a rope to get a rope break, and Moxley kicks that rope with his mouth still on it. That was pretty gnarly. Kyle countering a Gotch-style pile driver into a triangle choke, which I've never seen done before, but Moxley is able to fight out, hits some big knees, and hits the paradigm shift to win the main event, and he's going to go on to Forbidden Door to face either Goto or Tanahashi, and he could become a two-time AEW champion, the first two-time champion when it's all said and done. But yeah, damn what a match this was. This was so physical, so brilliant. If you like hard-hitting, gritty wrestling, like this main event was for you. My grade for this week's Dynamite is a B-. Like I said, if you're a fan of the wrestles, if you're a fan of technical or just physical, gritty, whatever adjective you want to use to describe what we saw tonight, this show was for you. Pac and Matthews was a great match. Hangman Page and David Finlay was good. The main event of Moxley and O'Reilly was just a damn fine match. And like, if you watch one match this week from that show, go check that one out. The Battle Royal was fine. Like I said, it's hard to mess up a Battle Royal. It's hard to make me feel bored from one of those, and I think that this Battle Royal was entertaining in its own way. And even the women's match, like, it just, maybe it was just me. Maybe I just didn't get it. It wasn't something I could get into, but it wasn't my cup of tea. But besides that, I think it was still a very strong show, setting up a lot of stuff for not just next week, but also for Forbidden Door. Things are beginning to get real interesting there. But what did you think of Dynamite this week, folks? Let me know in the comment section below. And one more time as a reminder, my Hell in a Cell review will belatedly be going up sometime on Friday in place of This Week in Regret. But until then, I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.